Broncos were like super busy this weekend. They did all kinds of stuff. They cut their roster down to 53 players. There was that. TJ Ward is gone. And they picked up a familiar face at quarterback. Romi Beans here to try to sort it all out. It's huge. It's a different team.
I mean, I don't even know where to start. Let's start with TJ Ward because that was the big news, the first big news of the weekend. Fans, teammates were really upset about it. But John Elway and Vance Joseph did provide some pretty good reasoning to it. The first one being, the main one being, the NFL's a business. And sometimes the right decisions for the organization are not the most popular one. And Vance Joseph followed it by saying he's glad that that's how TJ's teammates reacted because it would be concerning if they weren't upset about him going. So that all kind of shed some light onto it. But at the end of the day, it really is. The NFL's a business. It's a harsh world. And the young guys, Justin Simmons, he's really talented, and the Broncos feel like he's ready to step up.
It's really hard, though, to cut a guy who is really good and just cut him and get nothing for him. Because they got nothing for him, right? They were trying to build him up last week. Remember, Coach Joseph had some really fine comments about it?
Well, and when you actually take a look at TJ Ward, he's such a beloved player by the fans and by the teammates that you kind of forgive some of maybe his declining play. Not that it's declined a lot, but he is injury prone. He had the hamstring injury all of the preseason and throughout the offseason. And they're worried about his injury history, and also these young guys are faster, they're younger, they have a little more life in them. So this is when it becomes the really cruel part of the business where, you know, it's a young man's sport. And TJ was such a beloved player that it's hard to think about, oh my gosh, TJ Ward's gone. But when you look at kind of just the facts, take the emotion out, it does make sense.
Okay, and let's talk business deal on quarterback, because this is an incredible business deal. You get a $72 million quarterback coming back at a severe discount price. How did this work out?
This is unbelievable. Talk about Brock Osweiler. So Denver to Houston to Cleveland, back to Denver. Pretty wild story. The Broncos offered him almost $16 million a year. John Elway went up to last year, but he, which you can't blame him, took that $72 million to go to Houston. Houston traded him to Cleveland. Cleveland just cut him. So Cleveland is still on the hook. They were on the hook for $16 million a year for Brock. Now the Broncos will take a little bit of that, $775,000. They'll pay that. Cleveland still owes $15.25 to Brock. So pretty wild story. Brock Osweiler back in Denver, but you kind of always wonder, had Brock stayed in Denver, he could have been the starting quarterback here. This could have been an entirely different situation, especially this summer, the whole narrative we talked about.
Right.
But at the end of the day, you cannot blame a guy for taking $72 million in Houston. Like we say, the NFL's a business, so they have to do what's best for them as well.
But now, I would think, well, here's a guy who has starting quarterback potential, but that's not what you do, right?
No, I mean, Trevor has won this job. Trevor has won the job 2 years in a row, frankly. And there's a common term that they say you can't fool the locker room. And if a coach were to come in and just start Brock Osweiler, that would be really hard for a lot of the players then to keep trusting that coach because they know Trevor has earned this job. You look at a guy like Chris Harris Jr. or C.J. Anderson, undrafted, but they've earned the job. So players are really big on who earned the job. Now, if Trevor were to get hurt, Brock could go in, and then we have no idea what happens, right?
Right.
It could go either way. We obviously still have the Paxton Lynch conversation on the table. So there's a lot still to be seen, but as for right now, just think of it, Trevor Siemian is the starter and Brock Osweiler is the backup yet again.
And you're loving this because you've got a lot to talk about now for the next few weeks.
Quarterback conversation just never ends in Denver.
All right, beautiful. It's awesome. Romi, thanks a lot. You can always get more sports from us right here on CBSDenver.com.